Alrighty, what's going on there, folks? Earthmaster here, checking in on this Sunday, end of the weekend, June 28th, 2020, about 5:20 p.m. West Coast time here, and taking a look at the live view of the Earthquake 3D globe, also live stream up there in Yellowstone National Park. Looks like it did when I was up there last weekend. They're pretty busy with quite a bit of people out there. Of course, that's tourist season up there, so that's going to happen. Take a look at the Earthquake 3D globe here. Globally, some earthquake activity on the ramp up right around Puerto Rico. You can see a couple upper level 4s and some mid 4s in there as well. Bring this magnitude down a little bit and you can see the multitude of some larger magnitude quakes striking this region here. Kind of an uptick. Definitely an area to watch here as we're seeing the increase in activity today. Some activity even over here, older earthquake activity in the eastern part of the country here in North America, United States, over by Georgia. Chickamauga, what is it called? Chickamauga? That is an interesting name. Never heard of it. Anyway, it looks like quite a few folks reported feeling that 2.7 there in Georgia that struck at about 12 kilometers below the surface there. Interesting. Activity on the west coast over here picking up as well, although here in New Mexico, kind of want to take a look at that a little bit closer here, and to do that we're going to have to switch over to the browser view, and we'll come back to Southern California here in just a little bit. Earthquake activity has definitely been on the ramp up over there as well. Zooming in on the New Mexico region over here, kind of close to the border of Texas. Can see about well, zoom in a little bit closer here, about 13 earthquakes or so, at least today. I do want to go back here the last couple days and let's go 7 days, all magnitudes here, and this should bump up just a little bit, not much, but 17 earthquakes there in the New Mexico region. This area of activity sits southwest of Lovington and well to the northeast of Carlsbad, New Mexico there. Let's switch it back down here to the 1 day, and we're going to check out the satellite view of the area where this is happening at. Kind of a smaller swarm. It's not uncommon to see activity out there, but it's far, you know, it's kind of like here and there of activity. Zooming in, you can see, I mean, even with it being zoomed out, you can see a lot of pumping operations out there, folks, out there in the desert. A lot of extract of, I'm sure, gas and other natural resources out there. All these little squares, if you will, are pumping operations or some type of fracking sites. And it's, I tell you what, it's all over the place out here. There's a cluster of them right there. These could be old, these could be new, or it could be a combination of both. Where this activity is taking place here is kind of outside of that cluster, but needless to say, well within the general vicinity of the pumping operations here. Looking at the depth of these earthquakes here, roughly around, oh shoot, we got one down at about 1 kilometer, all the way down to about 8 kilometers. Most of them right around 5 kilometers below surface there. So just an interesting area to watch for activity. No major movement. Looks like the largest one they had here is going to be a 3.3 magnitude there, and that's going to be this earthquake there in the blue circle, kind of away from the main activity, if you will, a little bit, but still localized within about a mile or two of each other there in the beautiful desert of New Mexico. Let's go ahead and back out and check out the west coast here real quick. We're going to have to zoom to the terrain, give a little bit better detail there on where we're at. Yeah, New Mexico, no stranger to earthquakes. They can definitely get them. Down there in Texas as well. A lot of it is fracking related, and of course a lot of it is due to that you know, injection and whatnot during the process of the fracking. Nevada is still kind of quaking up there. You can see just northwest of Tonopah, that line of activity, if you will. Nothing major to report in this region, but still activity on the average level, I should say, for aftershock activity within this region. No abnormal earthquake activity to report in that area. Ridgecrest area and the area to the north of Lone Pine, or near Lone Pine, which sits up here to the north, is still seeing a little bit of activity. Nothing on the increase, if you will. Nothing dramatically out of normal here. Of course, with the earthquakes we've seen last week in this area, it's definitely a given that aftershock activity will continue. But for right now, it is minor, I would say, in multitude and magnitude level there. Some interesting activity taking place down here near Salton Sea, kind of towards the southern end of the San Andreas Fault section here. This is the Brawley seismic zone. We got Brawley down here. And of course the Imperial Fault, which sits even further south. Kind of an extension, if you will, of that plate boundary between the North American and the Pacific Plate. One and the same. The San Andreas Fault sits up here to the north a little bit, and of course it gets renamed as it goes across the Salton Sea. But still, this area right here is an area to watch for swarming. We have seen quite a few swarms out there in the past few years. Not sure if that's going to be the case here. Sometimes they pop up, sometimes they don't. But this earthquake activity here, 3.7 earlier this afternoon, striking the Salton Sea region right there, right under the lake, it looks like, at about 2.7 kilometers below surface. They got this set at about 13 kilometers southeast of Bombay Beach, California. And shortly thereafter, there was a smaller little aftershock within the vicinity of a 1.9, a little bit further away and a little bit deeper at about 5.8 kilometers below that level right there. Looking over here to the west, some minor earthquake activity, a little swarming going on there on the San Jacinto Mountains, or at least west of there. That's kind of another area to watch. Of course, I think they've been having this swarming here for a little while. You can go back to the last 7 days here, and you can see the multitude of quakes pick up there, but nothing major. Like I said, there's nothing major to report there in that area. Just a little, multitude of quakes throughout the region. Even down here in Salton Sea, if we went back 7 days, you can see some micro quakes popping up there. This is the all magnitude, so this is going to show the incredibly small quakes, but earthquakes nonetheless, over the last week or so within the vicinity. Moving up to the north part of the state here. Actually, we'll go to the central part here. A little bit of earthquake activity taking place on the kind of towards the creeping section of the San Andreas Fault here. You can see a little earthquake activity right there. This is the Parkfield section, southwest fracture zone. The creeping section sits up here just a little bit, but just not too far away from this earthquake that struck a little bit earlier. A 2.3, right? Yeah, 2.3 quake showing up there on the all magnitudes, and some smaller quakes up here as well. Not abnormal, folks. Definitely good to see a little bit of activity there on the creeping section, but no red flags to throw up today. As far as I'm concerned, everything looks pretty much average activity out here. We will take a look at the Idaho region real quick. I still see some old articles floating around on Facebook about Yellowstone having 30 earthquakes. Well, that's old. That's way old. That's like a couple weeks old, but people are still sharing it. Earthquake activity up there in Yellowstone National Park is normal, very normal. 20 earthquakes is like a little speck of sand in the swarms that they can get within that area. Idaho calming down. No shaking to mention, except for that little 2.5 and some sporadic small microquaking up through Idaho and portions of Montana. Very, very below average as far as the earthquake activity that we've been seeing, compared to the last couple weeks there. I do want to bring up the slow slip event trimmer map here. You can see activity on the increase there. This is over the last week from June 22nd to the 29th, or 20, well, they got it set the 29th due to UTC time, but this will pick up from a week ago till now, and a lot of the activity is looking kind of interesting down here to the north part of the state. Kind of seeing an unusual cluster of some intense slippage down below the subduction zone there, or in the subduction zone, I should say. These are not earthquakes, but tremors that are being picked up way down in there in the Cascadia subduction zone area, which stretches from Northern California, of course, all the way up past Vancouver Island. And this area right here near Redding, kind of showing some increase in activity there, way down there. Something I really haven't seen too often, but I guess it does happen. But it's a little bit further south than the average activity, which mainly sits up here to the north, kind of where this cluster is, up in the mountainous area and also into parts of Oregon, central Oregon. So I think we're a little bit above average when it comes to seeing the slow slip event movement activity. And of course to the south there, kind of a little surprising, but not completely unheard of, folks. So anyway, we're going to jump off here. Globally, the activity, like I mentioned, Puerto Rico kind of on a swarming level there, on the increase. This here is the last 24 hours of earthquake activity globally from the USGS here. Deep activity once again there in Fiji. No large-scale movement to report at the surface over here on the Pacific Plate. Of course, that could all change. Activity out there on the moderate level in the Mediterranean Sea area. And I'd say above average out here in South America. Chile region showing some a little bit of swarming throughout the subduction area over here, with quite a few fours popping off. Of course, this area no stranger to some mega quakes, but for now just a couple fours, keeping the earth alive and growing, right? That's a good thing. If we just all of a sudden stop seeing the earthquakes, that would be bad news for us here on the earth. Anyway, have a good day out there, folks. Gonna jump off here. I'll be monitoring live stream here for a little bit, so hope everyone had a good weekend. Tomorrow is Monday, and we'll chat to you guys a little bit later. Peace.